Following Joe Biden's decision to drop out of the US presidential race and then shortly after endorsing his current VP Kamala Harris to be the presidential nominee for the Democrats, we look at the Jamaican diaspora response and have a chat with Irwine Clare, immigration expert and managing director of Caribbean Immigrant Services. Hi, Irwine. It is a pleasure. Long time don't see, as Jamaicans love to say.
Same here, Tamar. Great being with you.
All right. So, of course, Joe Biden, president of the US, the big news yesterday, the breaking news everywhere that he's dropping out of running in the presidential race. And then shortly after, he has endorsed Kamala Harris. So I wanted to find out, of course, Kamala being, well, having a Jamaican parent, one of her parents being Jamaican. I wanted to find out from you, diaspora, what is the diaspora response to that?
Well, first and foremost, the decision by President Biden yesterday was indeed another demonstrated endeavor on his part. He has always placed country first. He was really placed in a position for the past several months about the whole age situation, which was further exacerbated by the debate recently held about his health and whether or not he had what it takes to continue the race. Let's not forget something here. Under his management, what the United States have gained significant. The United States economy is the most revered in the world right now. It is the economy that has come back from the COVID-19 situation the fastest. The economic numbers aren't even numbers that the opposition chooses to even speak about because they can't compete against facts. Although, you know, the Trump and his team will go further into that than one would have expected. The fact that he has made this decision, again, like I said, demonstrates the type of individual he is, who puts country first. Hard decision, right decision, a decision that has bred new life into the Democratic Party. And the fact that he came out and instantaneously endorses his vice president, I think that goes a far way for as far as it relates to putting feathers in the cap of Ms. Harris and looking forward to her being the next president of the United States. I mean, arguments were also being said when she was selected as vice president. Could she do it? You know, all and sundry. And she would have gone through many a litmus test. Of course, at the highest level of the land, there's a lot more that she will be going through and exposed to, and it has already started. To answer your question about the diaspora, well, yes, you know, I think it far supersedes a diaspora situation where she has Jamaican roots. I think most of us are thinking about the impact it has on the country. Yeah, and I'm happy that there's some lineage, Jamaican lineage there. She has never gone out and you know, on a pedestal to say that she's Jamaican. No, she has mostly associated herself with her mother's background, and they're rational behind that. Let's not kid ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't think that because she is Jamaican or has connections to Jamaica that somehow Jamaica is in a better stead. No, she is the United States president, not the president of Jamaica or just because of. But I think that it will find a lot of positive favor in most Jamaicans and Caribbean nationals.
I appreciate those sentiments, Irwine. And you made a good point there, though, that which is the views many have expressed that in terms of Kamala, she's leaned more towards her Indian heritage as opposed to her Jamaican heritage. And as you mentioned, she would have had her own reasons as to doing that. But at the same time, doesn't that not make the Jamaican diaspora? You live in New York, you're a part of it. Doesn't that make the Jamaican diaspora not necessarily inclined to want to support her?
It's a very proud moment. Let's not kid ourselves. It's a very, very proud moment. It was a proud moment too when she was on the ticket as vice president. I mean, these are platitudes that we look forward to, that we share with our children, to say to little black boys and little black girls that these are the roles that, you know, our people come into this country as immigrants, work hard, go to school, contribute to the economic fabric. Yes, we too can be president as long as you're born in the United States. So yes, it's a significant time. It's not something we take for granted. No.
But even though you said some of you are proud, but at the same time, aren't some persons not proud because of the fact that they're like, she don't recognize, a Jamaican just she don't recognize we.
Yes. And you'll have those. You're gonna have those. You're gonna have those who will say too that on the other side that she's not black enough. So you're gonna have those detractors. That's an expected norm. The situation is, the facts are, her father is Jamaican. She has Jamaican roots. So whether we like it or not, she has Jamaican roots. Whether or not she promotes the Jamaican side, as much as we want it, that's a different story. But I don't think she has gone out there and blacklisted Jamaica. Whenever the opportunity comes up, she has always spoken of Jamaica in positive lights. So it's not a situation where she as I said, she burning fire in Jamaica. No, she has not.
Okay. And so do you largely get the feeling then that the diaspora is rallying behind the Democrats at this time?
Yes, without a doubt. Yeah, and we have always had Jamaicans and Caribbean nationals who are very conservative and leans towards the Republican side. I'm not going to go into the rationale as to how a person could be a supporter of Trump, but hey, that's a different argument. Respect due there. But yes, the majority of folks here recognize it, what Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party stands for in this time of our life. We better understand this, because Project 25 is not something that will fare well for people like me. All right. And at the same token, let's understand, the president did say, and his people, that come day one, there are people who will begin to start being deported. So, let's not kid ourselves here that somehow, that these guys are just saying things. They have already documented what their plans are. Immigration is a touch point issue for us. Have we gotten all the things we wanted? No. But if we believe the other side is going to be sympathetic towards this, then we're to wake up. We're living in a different world.
Speaking of Project 2025, Trump, his team has distanced themselves from me.
Yes, of course. Of course they would. But ask Mr. J.D. Vance, 2.2 Trump, what he thinks about it and what he's been saying up until the point he was appointed or the name of vice president. This is their blueprint. They can't run away from it. This is what they say. They will be removing and doing the litmus test for all folks serving in the executive branch that the president has responsibility for, to make sure that they attest to what the MAGA policies are, and also setting back the United States 100 years.
And shifting things back quickly to Kamala, there are those who believe that this take away the nostalgic aspect of her being, mixed race, being Black, Jamaican heritage, things like that. There are those that believe that she has not produced enough while she was a VP, and she did not even do well in terms of what she was supposed to do regarding the border and issues of that nature.
Okay, but that's not her primary role. The primary role of a vice president is to be there many times and not be seen. Because do you want a meddling vice president who's upstaging the president? And let's look at the roles of vice president throughout. And what has she done that has seriously impeded the United States? She has followed their rules and regulations. She is vice president. If she were to have stepped out, you'd have heard the flip side to that. She probably would not be in the position she is today. So I have to believe that she has been a good student. She's a brilliant woman. Let's not forget, she has been a prosecutor. She has her own track record that she will have to defend. And it's not everything is glory there too. There are those who will have challenges with it too. But largely and in part, she has been a very successful prosecutor, a very successful legislator, because she has also been a senator in the United States government. So she does not come to this situation where she's going to have to be learning on the job. Day one, she's ready to roll.
With Kamala potentially becoming the nominee for the Democrats for the presidential race, do you think at this time that generally they're going to be supporting her as opposed to having other contenders?
All right. And that is why the question is being asked, why hasn't Mr. Obama, Charlie Schumer, Mr. Jeffries, who are The leaders of the Democratic Party have not come out, and the Pelosi have not come out and said anything yet. But what have we seen here? The governors and other stakeholders stepping up to the plate. Because for them to come out and to have said their piece at the top would be to the argument to the other side that they have shoved this decision down the throats of people. Allow your rank and file to step up and say what they have to say, and then they'll be making their decisions. I am quite confident that Charlie Schumer out of New York, the head of the Senate, Mr. Jeffries, who is the minority leader of the Senate of this House of Representatives out of New York, they will come around. The Black Convention, the Black Caucus have already. We have seen several governors, including Mr. Beshear, who has come out and supported. The same thing with Westmore, who has Jamaican roots out of Maryland, has come out and support, and several others. You will see them by the end of the day today. And like I said, the whole idea here is to have the Democratic Party convalesce around a candidate going into the next election, going into their convention.
Okay, I saw an article this morning. I didn't get to read it, but I saw a glimpse of it where he was saying that Obama at this time is saying he wants to have it open.
Yes,
and not put his support behind. Does that say a lot considering the fact that he's the first Black president? Here you have another, and he's not.
If you had gone the other way, the flip side of the argument would be that, you know, Blacks are just automatically supporting Blacks. I think what he's doing there is being pragmatic, because there are others. The Democratic Party is a big tent scenario, which comes with its own challenges as well. When you have that massive inclusiveness, you always have to make sure you cover your bases. It's not easy. It's always a messy situation. I think he's doing the right thing, you know, and that's by no means not to stay the role that he's playing, because at the end of the day, when we come around to the convention, there'll be one candidate. I think that's what they're putting the marbles in place right now, to make sure that those who may have think that they have an opportunity, the negotiations are taking place out of the public sphere right now.
At this stage in the game, as you mentioned, the convention is just in a few weeks. The the elections are in November. Can Kamala Harris actually beat Donald Trump?
Yes. It's a prosecutor versus a convict. I mean, I'm not making up anything. It's facts. She's a prosecutor, and yes, the former president is a convict.
But that doesn't seem to stop his team.
Because he has a solid group of core persons behind him. That's the number. You can't get into that. The question is to get all those who are on the fence, who are complaining that Biden's age was a problem and all that. So that's no longer an issue. So let's go to the economy. Oh, record number of employment. Inflation is going down. The stock market is going like crazy. There's no argument there. Immigration, okay. They want to close the border, which is extreme. The other side, what about those who are inside? They also want to deport. So, you know, you're going to have contending arguments there. So at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. But I think, though, the sense I get, and when I hear and I speak to Jamaicans in South Florida and New York and elsewhere, and other friends in the political sphere, is that they're getting the feeling that they had going back to the Obama years, when people were getting themselves energized, motivated, because you see, democracy is at stake here. Let's not kid ourselves on that. That is real. That is real.
But why should the diaspora support a Kamala versus a Trump? What are the perks then for, as you mentioned, immigrants in all of this? Okay, or why not? Or none of them at all? Why choose one?
No, it can't be none of them. If you go none of them, then the minority will always win. The whole situation is here. You must look at what it is that their platform says. Their platform says that they will end chain migration. Chain migration is the most beneficial aspect to Jamaicans who aspires to enter the United States. That's one. Chain migration also adds to the continuity of the $3 billion that comes to Jamaican remittances every year. Because if there's no chain migration there, then that will impact that whole scenario. the role that Jamaica and the access to the United States that Jamaica has benefited over the years, you could see differences there. The policies of the Trump administration will be to close borders, meaning that it's all about the United States. Elsewhere, forget you. Unless you are from the EU, the countries that are already been hostile to the United States, whether it be Turkey, South Korea, or Russia. So I don't know how Jamaica would factor itself in there. When you look at the fact that we have a burgeoning tourism product, do you think at some point that won't be impacted? So let's start roll these things out. When the United States start looking at itself in a focused way about itself only, then yes, those who are on the fringes who benefit from the United States will have a problem with that. And then when we talk about the big immigration issue for the 40 million people who are within the United States who are undocumented, what of them? What about the dreamers that the Republicans says they will deport on day one? What about that? So, we have I could go down a litany of things, you see, and the role that minorities play. Because remember, it's about the purity of the party. These are the guys who says that the blood of the United States is infested by the fact that the role that immigrants play. And if you pull immigrants out of the fabric of the United States economy falls, but they don't see it that way. So somehow they're just gung-ho. I cannot explain that, and I'm not even going to attempt to. But I can only speak for the standpoint. And clearly, let me just put this as a caveat. That is not to say that there's not significant faults within the Democratic Party either, because it's a multiplicity of arguments. It's a big tent concept. These are the things that happen when you have a big tent concept. That is life.
Definitely. Any final comments on this issue, Irwine, on this topic? Of course, the discussions will be continuing for the next several weeks and months to come, but yeah.
I'd say to those Jamaicans here who have relatives in the United States, let them know that if they are qualified to register to vote, go out, register to vote. I'm not going to tell them to vote for. They vote for their pocketbooks, but they must be part of the system in order to criticize the system. Don't say you're not going to vote because two of them are the same. Nothing goes so. All right? Recognize, educate yourself. The same way we had thousands of persons who marched out and sold out the stadium for Buju Banton concert. Get cracking on the future for your children. If not for yourself, for your children. Get involved. And once we do that, involves in the process that elects those who represents us, then we have accountability, responsibility, then we can call the shots. Until then, keep quiet or leave into a corner, rather. Stay in a corner.
Thank you so much, Irwine. Not mincing words at all.
What's that? Not at this time. Our foreparents fought and died hard for us, the privilege and now the right to vote, and we don't exercise it. That's a travesty.
True. Thank you so much.
Quite welcome, my dear.